please thank the incredible Margaret Hall for her beautiful tune. Thank you so much for coming out for the launch of Sorry House Full, this incredible work that Ian Hansen and Les Todd have put together. First, I'd like to ask to the stage the CEO of Universal International Pictures, Mr. Mike Baird, if he could say a few words.
And we're so fortunate to gather to pay tribute to this towering achievement which Ian and Len have put together. It's an enormously important document of our past, and thereby a reflection of the present, and perhaps a guide to the future. A future which surely must include preserving what little we have left. Now, in my 20 years in Sydney, I've often done what I hazard many of you have done too, which is driven or walked past a building which instantly identifies as one that once housed a cinema. The emotions run high at what might have been. This wonderful book provides an enormously valuable passport, allowing us, the reader, to travel back in time and consider the bounteous cinemas which once seemingly were everywhere in Sydney, from the largest palaces to the tiniest newsreel rooms, and as so appropriately summarized in the book, the forgotten, the short-lived, and the obscure. Now, lest one be daunted by what one might consider to be a rather studious A to Z, I was taken with the prose of the passage I'm about to read to you, which described the end of the Palace Theatre, which once resided at 261 Pitt Street. This is from the book. During demolition, a swimming pool was discovered deep beneath the stage, carved out of a rock chamber. Old forgotten dressing rooms were also found at lower levels. On the rooftop, the chimney from the old engine room contained a small fig tree growing precariously out of the bricks. The theatre ghost also had to find a new home. The only remnant from the building was the marble bar, which was meticulously removed and reinstated at the Hilton Hotel, where it remains in use to this day. Unconfirmed rumors state the fig tree was also removed to a new home. Isn't that wonderfully written and so evocative to give us a sense of how meticulous and beautifully presented this book is? So, Sorry House Full is a comprehensive retrospective of the cinemas of Sydney. At 220 plus pages, it is a voluminous treasure, and it only covers the cinemas of the Sydney CBD. I believe a book the size of the yellow pages would be required to document the entire living history of the Greater Sydney area. And who better than Ian and Les to consider that? Because great movies deserve great sequels, and so does this book. Congratulations to you both.
These are wonderful words from Mike. He's a great speaker. Thank you, Mike, so much. Also a great speaker and a man who'll take centre stage, no doubt, is the wonderful Paul Brennan from PTB Screen, who'll be joining us on stage.
What I find about Ian and Les's book is that it covers the enchantment which has gone from our cinema going. These buildings which children like myself and like Ian, like Les Todd, no doubt Mike, Ross Barnard, Gary Xantos, Pat Conlon, friends that I can nominate in the audience, who went to these cinemas in the 50s and 60s and were completely and utterly astonished that such a thing could exist. And I think the loss of these cinemas is theft from the future, it's theft from our grandchildren, and they were demolished one after the other by what I would say are uncooperative, unimaginative office clerk executives. And they would say things like, oh, it lost business for 10 weeks, let's pull it down. And beautiful theatres all over the suburbs in Sydney. 150 cinemas in the suburbs. Where are they now? We've got 150,000 hotels and motels, but there's been this surgical removal of our most beautiful, most productive, most favourite cinemas. And I can't take our grandkids to them. I can't take kids to have the same experience that we all had. Absolutely essential that young people today have beauty in their lives. They are pulverised with misery. They are pulverised with humiliation, hatred, violence, gore and stupidity. And for them to come to an enchanting building like this, or the Capitol, or the Roxy, or the Minerva, or go through any one of those photographs in Ian's book, which champions this. It's not nostalgia, it's a horror story. It's about, we've got what we have left, we must nurture, we must preserve, and thank God, that this theatre is still in the same hands as the organisation that built it, which was Greater Union and, of course, Amalgamated Holdings, which, of course, now is Event Cinemas and Hospitality. So, the theatre had that massive renovation in 1980, 81. We're now 40 years past that. And I think that the theatre's never been in such beautiful condition. No matter where you sit in this theatre, whether it's in that corner, or up there, the minute the show starts, the screen seems to be the right size. It's some miracle of design right back from 1928. It still works. And we had 26 of them in the city, and we had 150 in the suburbs, and we've got a handful left. So for us who love them, who grew up with them, who appreciate them, and know that we must pass this on to our children and grandchildren, and especially rewiring teenagers' minds to realise there are beautiful things in the world for which they are welcome. I think a theatre like the State and a book like Ian and Les's is a fabulous reference book that every library in Sydney should have as part of their civic assets collection. And of course, we have the incredible State Theatre to go to, courtesy of Event Cinemas and Hospitality. Thank you, and thank you, Simon. It's a delight to be able to speak to you all this morning, and may I please welcome back Ian and Simon. Thank you.
In putting this book together, what was the one or the two moments that came to mind where you sort of went, I'm so grateful to be in this industry, I'm so lucky to be part of what I do with these people in this industry?
Yes, well, the person where I was really grateful that helped bring all this book together was Ray Bannerman, as you know, who's a graphic artist, but his artistic skills brought it all together. We had photographs, some of those photographs in the book. That one of the Globe Theatre was off a photostat, a piece of paper.
At the height of Sydney's Picture Palace golden era, if we were to walk out that front door and head down to what is now Chinatown, what are we likely to see? What are the theatrical monuments that are now gone that would have stood out there?
Well, there's some relics still there. That's the funny part. If you go out here and go left, there's a building there. It used to be the 2UW Radio Auditorium. That was the Globe Silent Movie Picture Theatre, and that's the theatre that showed the longest running silent film in Sydney's history. They had a film on there called Son of the Sheik with Rudolph Valentino. It ran there for 6 months, which was incredible in those days. Then it went down further to the Empress, the Rapallo, ran 3 months. So the facade of that's still there. It closed in 1923, by the way. That film, Smiling Through, was one of the last films they had there. So you've got the remnant of that. If you walk down George Street, Cross Park Street, the Criterion was in Park Street where the hotel is, but that was long gone. You wouldn't have seen that in the 70s, of course. Then you had the Century Theatre, which I was asked about on 2GB the other night about the significance of that, why it was called that. And then you had the Plaza. Across the street was the Regent. Next to the Regent was the Trocadero Dance Hall, or the Hoyt Centre later, or the event houses. Then you had the Paramount. Then you had the Rapallo. Back on that side, then you had the Roma. Then you worked down further, you had the Barclay in George Street, then you had the Capitol in the corner of the great movies. And then you went up the street, you had the Forum. So I may have missed one or two, but that's basically what you can see.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to say or any questions they'd like to ask Ian before we move to the end? Right there, yes?
Yeah, do you think the plaza would ever be restored? Well, the plaza is totally destroyed. It had a heritage order on it. All the walls were kept, everything was kept. It's only in recent years it was gutted. It was done in the middle of the night, so no one knew about it. And they said, oh, we forgot it was a heritage building. they've destroyed it. But then they destroyed the Melbourne one, except the Melbourne one had the seating lift in it. So technically it could be restored, but then you've got to get in access of trailers, and there's so many major problems to build have a live theatre there because of where it is. But it's feasible to be restored, yes.
Please ask you to thank Les, who isn't here, Ian, of course, Paul and Mike, who's joined us today for the book launch, and Mr. Ian Hanson.
The book, Sorry House Full, is now launched.